10th of February 2023. Watching a video from Emil Kosman, someone I follow. It's a Romanian who lives in America, and I'm a Dutch guy who lives in Romania. And he comes from the region Transylvania, as far as I understood. Sometimes he gives hints about his past here in Romania. Interesting perspective. Anyways, he is talking about Russian surprise attack in North Ukraine. Sumy Oblast attacked with almost 100 strikes, and that red area on this map is where Sumy Oblast is. Now let me go to Google Earth, because it lines up with something I said in another video. On this map I predict that this is roughly the zone, the front line of the four oblasts: Luhansk, Donetsk, Zaporozhye and Kherson. And my prediction was that roughly, if you would take a ruler and make about roughly 400 kilometers away from these points a line, that will be the demilitarized zone. That's what I predict that will happen. That will be there at the end of this year, in my opinion. And I predicted that they will then take first from the north. So here is Sumy to the north of Kharkov, and I think this line, this green line, all the way to the top of this very strategic important region now, Transnistrie, region that everyone seems to overlook, but in the background they don't overlook it, because those French and American soldiers stationed in the moment and exercising on Romanian soil down there in Tulce, that's because of Transnistria and Moldavia, for sure. Those two regions become now very, very strategic important. If you look back on that map, then you can see that here is a strong Russian presence, Ukrainian Russian presence. If the Russians would like to push inside, it would be from Transnistria, for sure. It would be. And since it is a self-declared republic, a self-declared state, only recognized by a handful of people, then there is no NATO involvement, no occupation of NATO countries or anything. And Transnistria has said in 2006, I believe, that it wants to be part of the Russian Federation, just like the Serbs have announced as well to be part of a brothership. So yes, Transnistria becomes very important now in the near future in this conflict, for sure. That lower part under Moldavia, what used to be Bessarabia, part of Romania, that will become now very strategic important. Why? When you look back on the map, the distance to the Crimean Peninsula and Tulce is within 400 kilometers. So if there are American weapons positioned in Romania, where do you think they aim? Yes, they will aim at the Crimean Peninsula. If NATO would do that, as they threaten constantly that they would do, However, they say all the time they will do it from out of the Ukraine. Huh? Or that's the belief of people. It will happen from out of the Ukraine. I don't think so. I think it will happen from that coast region. From that coast region. So they will just cross from Romania into the Ukraine and from there shooting over the water to Crimea. That's why that warship is there also. That guided missile destroyer ship. That's why they are accumulating there. To hit Crimea. For sure. For sure. And then when you would look back on the map, you can see if they would accumulate NATO forces here, under the guise like that Austrian colonel said, they just change uniform, sign a contract, cross the border here, go in here, in this little part, and start shooting here. If you look at a ruler, the distance from, let's say, here, right here, just across the border to there, that smack middle, you see? I think that will happen. And then NATO can still claim they are not shooting at Crimea. They are not. The Ukrainians there in that little pocket, that little corner, and their PMCs are shooting at Crimea, not NATO. No. But the answer will be obvious, right? Tactical, strategic. The answer will be obvious. From Transnistria, they will close that part down to the coast. For sure. For sure. I think Odessa, that piece of oblast, will be coming from Transnistria, an attack of the Russians, and from Kherson up to Nikolaev and taking that oblast, and then that whole zone of oblast will be demilitarized under Russian control. That will be the future, I am sure. I am sure. Wait, I'm done with that. And most likely around the Polish border, the Belarusian border, Hungarian border, there will be buffer zones, and this whole part, if they are lucky in the Ukraine, will then be under supervision to stay neutral, if they are lucky. But I think the way we keep pushing, that there is another possibility that they will take the Russians, because it is a natural barrier all the way here, and then here, 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 here. And then everything on the top remains Ukraine. Everything on the top remains Ukraine on that side. And something here in between might be international community who safeguards this, but there will be no Ukraine left. There will be no Ukraine left. That's a guaranteed outcome. Otherwise we are in a full-blown war. That's the only thing that will stop an outcome like this. And when we make a full-blown war, we will lose, because we will be at war with South America, with Africa, with Eurasia, all aiding Russia. Yes, they will leave the SWIFT system the second it becomes a world war, they will leave. They will leave because they know that the unipolar world is sinking and everyone will leave ship one way or another. And since this empire America cannot keep together with Australia and Britain the whole world under control, which means Eurasia, the Eurasians know the colonial time from Britain. They remember the colonial time from the Dutch. They remember the colonial time from the Americans, the Philippines. They remember, regardless that America managed again to get a foothold on Philippine soil. They remember. They also remember the threat from the Japanese. They remember. So they will not fall so easy for NATO and the West. No. They've seen the hypocrisy, they've seen the lies, so the end result is obvious, is very obvious. Those continents, they will join the winning side. The winning side, the multipolar world will be the winning side. Why? Because they are with many and we are with few. If only we would remember here in those countries, the West, that we are also with many and they are with few. Your so-called leaders. But this will be the outcome. This will be the outcome. The Russians will push in first on this side. That will force the Ukrainians to focus also here. From that side they will push in from that side. They at the same time, depending how the North will proceed, then at some point they will start to push in like here and here. It is logic. And then my guess is that eventually for those peace talks Moldavia becomes Romania again. Transnistrie might be a bargain chip. And lose its little republic status, but becomes like an autonomous protected zone, like they wanted for Donbass and Luhansk in the Ukraine. But I think Transnistria will become back part of Moldavia, and I think Moldavia will become part of Romania, but both zones neutral, autonomous zones. I think that will happen, with Bessarabia down there, back to Romania. Yeah, the same with the Polish. They will accept territory of the Ukraine in return for peace. The same for the Hungarians. They will accept peace in return for that territory. They would accept peace right now. They are the only sensible voices in all of Europe in the moment. Well, the Belarusians, they might be persuaded to just stay on the old border there by Moscow, and Kiev may be divided like a new Berlin into sectors. Something like that will happen. But the Ukraine, like NATO and the EU envisions, it will not happen. It will not happen. This is a life and death struggle for Russia, for China, and for us. Unfortunately, we are fighting the wrong enemy. Just think of Nord Stream and who blew it up. You are fighting the wrong enemy. I wish we had an oath, foreign and domestic, in that NATO pact. Then we knew who to fight right now.